y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about faith, family, and kids. My name is Carrie and I have my mom, Stephanie, with us today, and she is just visiting from Florida. Yes, Florida is where I grew up, so they live in the Sunshine State and they're here to celebrate 4th of July. So she is actually going to help me out in this video because she also is allergic to gluten. So we're going to talk today about our favorite gluten-free foods, favorite gluten-free recipes, favorite gluten-free brands, things like that, so that if you are just starting out in a gluten-free journey, whether it's because you realize you're sensitive to gluten or you just are curious about it, this would be a good place to start because we have tried all the bad brands. And we figured out, you know, the hard way what's good and what's not, I feel like. So let's jump right into that. Alright, so I'm going to start out with a few of my favorites. Gluten is in foods like pizzas, pastas, and breads. So these are not going to be like healthy alternatives per se. They're just alternatives that allow us to enjoy those things without gluten. So these are our favorite brands that we've tried. We're not bashing like any brands that we're like, oh, that wasn't so great or that wasn't so good. It's hard to make something gluten-free taste good. And so when you've got a brand that does a good job, then you want to like tell everybody that can't have gluten, like, this is a good one. I'm going to start with our favorite brand. I think my mom would agree that this brand, she actually introduced this brand to me, I think. Canyon Bakehouse makes really good gluten-free bread. This is like one of their newer kinds of bread. A lot of gluten-free bread that you'll see is like half the size of a regular piece of bread. They're always a lot more sturdier. They don't have the softness that you'd see in processed breads. But these breads, this specific kind, the honey white bread,
Heritage.
Yeah, the heritage style. It's like a longer piece of bread, so it makes it like more, I guess, substancy. If you eat like Schar's gluten-free bread, it's not bad. It's just like a much smaller, and these are just better tasting. And actually, Canyon Bakehouse bakes a lot of stuff. You said that you have recently been eating their bagels.
Oh yeah, the bagels are awesome.
And I think, have you seen their English muffins?
Not in that brand.
Really? Okay, they sell at our Walmart, they sell the English muffins. I totally should have pointed that out to you yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, their English muffins, I've had them one time. They're really good. They don't like pre-slice them like you would normally see in English muffins, but so that can get kind of annoying because with gluten-free bread, it crumbles a lot. But again, this Canyon Bakehouse, a really good brand. As you can see, I've already eaten half this loaf of bread. But it's a great substitute for sandwiches and things like that. Mom, do you have any anything that you want to show?
Yeah. I like, for breakfast, I do a lot of the Kind breakfast bars. They have the ones that have probiotics and protein in them, so we usually get those. This is another Kind bar that I don't normally use for breakfast, but it's good for like just snacking and on the go.
We're going to try to get it to focus for you guys a little bit closer. Sometimes my camera will cooperate and other times not. There you go.
And it's got chocolate in it, so if you need that chocolate fix, it's good. The only thing that I don't prefer about these and why I like the breakfast bars better is it has a lot of millet in it, which I don't really prefer to eat, but it's good for you and they taste good. And then Annie's does a lot of good gluten-free products as well. And these are some oatmeal bars. They also have a chocolate chip one that's good.
Annie's is a good gluten-free brand.
Yeah. And just even if you need some candy, I actually prefer these. They are gluten-free peppermints and they're really good.
Yeah, they're like the buttercream ones. They kind of melt in your mouth, which growing up as a kid, I preferred those over regular peppermints anyways. If you're doing any kind of cooking or baking, the best kind of flour to get is Red Mill's 1-to-1 baking. I highly suggest getting this kind. It already has what's called xanthan gum in it, which if you know anything about gluten, gluten is kind of the glue that holds together breads, pastas, you know, those things. So xanthan gum is really kind of the substitute for gluten in that situation. So if you buy a gluten-free flour and it doesn't have xanthan gum in it, you're also going to have to buy xanthan gum when you're cooking or baking, because it pretty much will fall apart without that. So this is a great brand because it already has that in it. So it's a 1-to-1, which also means that you don't have to worry about doing different measurements. Like if you're looking at a recipe that's not a gluten-free recipe and you're trying to just convert it yourself, you do have to, if you don't have this kind, you have to kind of do different things and do different measurements and figure that out.
It's nice to not have to like do a bunch of different flours because it's already all set for you.
Yeah, so this is my basket. Before, I don't know if they hadn't come out with that yet, or maybe I just hadn't seen it. I had bought all sorts of different flours, and Red Mill makes some really good options. Bob's Red Mill, I guess it's called. This one is a super fine almond flour, which again, this doesn't have this. The only ingredient in this is blanched almonds. Like literally, that's it. So I mean, you gotta have xanthan gum if you're baking with it. Organic coconut flour, all that's the only ingredient listed on here. Organic coconut. You know, so they do a really good job of making sure that the things they put in here are just exactly what it says. Finely ground tapioca flour, all it's got, the only ingredient is tapioca. So Bob's Red Mill is really a good brand across the board. And then the last one that I have is a white rice flour, and this is again Bob's Red Mill. So they have a bunch of different options if you want to try different flavors or looking for more organic things. Bob's Red Mill does a really great job of just giving you the good stuff but without any extras. And again, this is all different flours I have used in place of the 1-to-1 all-purpose.
I like to use their gluten-free oatmeal too to make for breakfast in the morning. And they have a dedicated facility, whereas if you use Quaker oats or whatever, it's not gluten-free. So Bob's Red Mill does a good job with that and keeping it from cross-contamination. Yeah,
because Quaker made like an instant gluten-free oatmeal, and it still made me sick. So I wonder if that's why. So that's a good point. I actually did not know that. That makes sense though. They make so many gluten-free things. They should have a dedicated facility. I have my feast book here. That is basically just all of my ingredients. And I have a recipe that I'm going to link below that's called, it's from a website called Gluten Free on a Shoestring.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, and she actually puts really good stuff on there. A lot of the things, like, I think the whole idea is cheaper meals because sometimes gluten-free food can be expensive. And so she made a recipe for gluten-free drop biscuits, and they are the best biscuits. My husband, he's not, you know, allergic to gluten, but their biscuits he will eat up. If I'm not careful and I'm not like, save some for me, he will eat all those biscuits. They're really good biscuits to have with like sausage gravy or even just like butter and jam. Like, so they're so good, and it's a really easy recipe. So I'll link that below. You want to talk about your favorite pasta brands?
I do like to use the Barilla brand. They seem to do the best job. And for sauce, I usually use the Classico, and I like to keep the jars because the jars are mason jars. So that's one of the main purposes of using the Classico, but they do mark theirs as gluten-free. A lot of the sauces are not marked gluten-free. So that's good, and they taste good, so that's what we use. Yeah,
well, and I noticed too, a lot of sauce brands don't have Alfredo for some reason, like as an option, and Classico does. And like my mom said, they're already gluten-free. So I also have really bad acid reflux. I can have tomato sauce, but I just like try to stay away from it because like the less I can have of that, the better. And so when I do make pasta, I try to stick to Alfredo if I can, and Classico does make the best. Another option that both of us really love, and again, this, I mean, it's 370 calories per serving. I don't even know if I want to look at this. It's like 930 milligrams of sodium. So like, we are not saying this is going to be a good option for you to eat all the time. but it is a really good tasting option if you are missing mac and cheese, which I've always grown up being a mac and cheese and PB&J girl. I love those things. Those are my two favorite things. I could live off of those two things forever. But we found this one. This is actually just the Walmart brand of shells and cheese, and I've tried Annie's, which, you know, like I said, Annie's makes some decently good things that are gluten-free. Yeah. I believe they also have a dedicated, like, I know that they do things that aren't with gluten, but I believe that the gluten-free things they make are also marked as being made in a facility that's separate. Don't quote me on that. I'm just going off of what I think I've seen. But again, this is just like better than that. I don't know. It probably is because it's so much sodium and all sorts of other things in there, but it's delicious. My mom and I can eat a whole box of this and just knock it out. And not even gonna lie, if I'm not careful, I eat a whole box in a sitting because it's real good. I don't buy this very often for that reason.
It's a treat.
Yes. So do you have any favorite gluten-free crackers that you've tried? Because I feel like crackers is another thing that, like, people don't think about having gluten in them, and it's a good little snacky snack.
I actually recently tried the Schar brand. They actually sent out like a sample box, and so I didn't have to buy them, which, you know, gluten-free stuff is expensive. So I usually don't buy stuff like that because it's so expensive. But they sent me a sample, and their crackers taste almost like the real thing. They're really good.
They, I actually buy their I think they're called table saltine crackers.
It's like a rectangle.
Yeah, I have them.
Crackers.
I have them. I should bring them in here, but that's okay. I'll put a picture up right here. Basically, anything we talked about today that we don't have, like, physical thing to show you, we'll just, like, put a picture right here so you guys can see it. But their table crackers or whatever, they're shaped like a rectangle, and they individually like bag like maybe 5 or 6 of them. I'll say the only downside is, again, because they're gluten-free, they're super crumbly, so you have to be careful when you're opening it, but they're the best for using as breadcrumbs. So especially because they already come in that package, a lot of times I've found that I only need like 1 or 2 of those little individual packets within the main package, and you can keep them in there and just crush them up. And it's really great.
Substitute for saltines too. Like if you're not feeling well. And I did try their breadcrumbs. They also have those, and those are really good.
Yeah, you actually, I think, either sent me some or she sent me some of those, and those are really good. I think I actually use them to make like fried chicken or something. So good, y'all. Another good brand that we just recently started trying. I've seen them do some gluten-free things, but I've been waiting for somebody to come out with something like a Ritz cracker, and y'all, these are so good. Lance original crackers. These taste just like Ritz crackers, and I was super excited when I found these because after the egg donation, I was having a lot of nausea. So to be able to have something small to munch on while I'm feeling that way and trying to keep something in my stomach all the time, this was like perfect. And it didn't make me want to get sick at the thought of eating, because I feel like if you think, I don't know, for me anyways, if I thought about trying to eat a whole meal, I'd be like, whoa. So this was great. Another thing that is definitely not something I buy very often, I would say I probably buy this every 3 or 4 months as a treat. I get Tate's gluten-free cookies. Now these ones are crunchy. I really prefer eating these with milk, just like dipping them in milk or in coffee. So good. But they're very crunchy and make a huge mess if you don't dip it in some kind of liquid. And my mom says she likes chewy cookies. Have you found any like chewy gluten-free cookies though?
There are some good ones. The Enjoy Life brand is kind of hit or miss. They have some that taste not so good, but they do make a soft one, a soft cookie that is good. It's I think it's the brownie one, or it's chocolate or something. But some of them are not good. Like if you get the regular chocolate chip one, I think it tastes too much like brown sugar or something, or molasses, and that one's not good. But they do have some good ones.
Yeah, I feel like I've tried those cookies too, and I wasn't a huge fan, again, unless I was like dunking it in chocolate milk or something that would cover up the taste a little bit. You know, and a lot of sweet things too, if you think about it, desserts that are like pastries or pies or cakes, you know, all those kind of things are going to have gluten in it. So if you go to Publix, they have this one cake That's a strawberry shortcake, and I'm blanking right now on what the name of the brand is for that. Strawberry shortcake?
Publix does it themselves, I believe.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because they do that one and the devil's food cake one.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually in the freezer.
They have like a little, I want to say one of the words is edibles. I'll put a picture up here because I know I can find it on their website. But it's usually like in the front section with all the bakery stuff, and they've got a little freezer off to the side, and you can go, and they don't sell like a whole cake. I mean, they might, but I know that they just mostly sell like
a bar cake.
Yeah, it's like almost, it's not quite a personal cake, like maybe a 2-person cake. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty small. But their cake is the best that I've had that is gluten-free. You can always make your own gluten-free cake as well, but like, it's really spongy and moist and hard. That's hard to find in a gluten-free like cake. So, what are some other foods that you have found in your gluten-free journey that you just come back to quite a bit that really just like help you? Or like foods that you just like are eating on a daily basis or normal basis because of your gluten allergy?
I would say probably for like breakfast type stuff again, would be, I like the Chex cereal. They do a pretty good job, and those are gluten free. And then for we do a lot of salads. The Ken's Steakhouse dressing is gluten free. And they do a good job with all of theirs. I like the honey mustard one.
Yes,
myself. That was
my favorite too.
Let's see. Probably just looking, being real careful for vegetables. We tend to get a lot of the frozen vegetables. So we usually go with Bird's Eye brand because sometimes the other ones are not gluten free. So those ones I usually get the Bird's Eye brand. And then usually just keeping to the basic, you know, meat, vegetables, fruits, the whole foods usually will keep you safe, but sometimes you want something a little bit extra.
Yeah.
If you're going to eat out somewhere and you're not sure, you know, sometimes a lot of places do have a gluten-free menu nowadays, but they're not going to have a dedicated separate area where they're cooking your food. We usually take enzymes when we go out, just to kind of protect ourselves from cross-contamination. So I can show you some of the ones that I use.
Yeah.
I have 3 of them.
And really you want to take all 3, they're like a superpower together. You can take just the one, the glutenese, which is the main one, but with the other 2, it just really makes the glutenese work better.
Yep. So I usually get the glutenese extra strength, and it's basically 2 pills in one. You can buy the regular glutenese, and you'd have to take one that would equal these. So you would have to do that. And then I take 2 other ones. This one's called Digest Spectrum.
It likes my face. There you go. And they all look the same. They really do. If you like pour them out, I mean, I think I can tell the difference. This one's a lighter, that one's darker, and this one's bigger.
Yes.
But to the untrained eye, you're like, don't mix these up.
You're like, which one did I just take?
Yeah.
And then the last one is Digest Gold, and they have 2 different ones. They have the Digest Gold Basic, and I use the one that has probiotics because with the problems that we have, probiotics is very important. So you actually want to integrate some yogurt into your diet as well. And a lot of people who have gluten allergies have problems with digesting dairy as well. So this helps a little bit to have the probiotics.
Yeah, I always like, I'm wondering, I'm like, am I gluten, or am I like, what is the word when you can't have dairy?
Lactose intolerant.
Yeah, I always wondered if that was also something I had, but that makes sense. That being the case, why I'm a little bit more sensitive to it. But let me tell you, I have a hard time saying no to cheese and ice cream.
Yep.
We don't keep ice cream in our fridge very often either for that reason. But, you know, I do like gelato. I love gelato.
Yeah, that is good
stuff. So, can you explain a little bit, like, how your body reacts to gluten if you were to have it?
So for many years, I always had digestive problems, and because it runs in my family, I just assumed it was from that, and I might have something similar. I have ulcerative colitis and diverticulitis in my family. So I would get sick, whereas basically I would eat something and it would be intense stomach pain and cramps, and I would have to go to the bathroom multiple times and basically have diarrhea. It's not very pleasant. It would totally ruin your day, and if you're out and you're trying to enjoy time with family or friends, it makes for a very awkward time. And usually that will happen, a reaction usually happen within 2 hours for me. So if I think I'm eating something that has gluten in it and I haven't taken my enzymes, I'm going to be in trouble very shortly. So years ago, just doing some research, my husband found out that gluten might be the cause of my problems when he was doing research for work. And so we're like, well, it can't hurt to try and eliminate it and see if that's what it is. So I didn't have any official testing. I haven't done the celiac test. But I know that when I eat gluten, I get sick, and that's enough for me. Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, and I usually just try to avoid it whenever I can.
Yeah, and you guys already know my story. If you haven't, I'll link it up right here. But basically, I had that gene. You know, she said it runs in our family, and the gene was literally awakened in my body due to a stressful occurrence. So there are things that, it's very possible that, especially if you have things that run in your family that are similar to what she was talking about, that you could have something similar. Or else if you're like having the stomach aches like she's talking about, it's the kind of stomach ache to me that I really, like you were saying, you can't enjoy yourself. You feel like you have to sit and stay and not move and do anything. Like you just kind of want to crawl up in a ball and just like pray the pain away. It's really bad. But I think, and we've talked about this before, I really believe that a lot of it has to do with the chemical processing that wheat and gluten in and of itself just goes through in our nation. I think you told me before where you've seen people with celiac can go to Italy and eat their pasta and be okay. Yep. Now listen, if you have celiac, there's some cases of celiac where if you eat gluten, you die. Or like you get like hospitalized, kind of sick. So for somebody who's a celiac to say, I can eat pasta in Italy, like that goes to tell you that, you know, they hand make their pasta over there. There's a lot of chemical processing, a lot of behind the scenes that goes on in things, really all our food today. Even things that are labeled as organic, it's hard to trust anything these days. You really have to look into the brand, and you have to look into, I do a lot of research. I go to like brands' websites and I look at their about, and then I look at reviews, and I just connect things, because what you put inside your body is what you become. You are what you eat. This is just really important that if you are sensitive to gluten, or if you're just wondering about gluten in general, like why are more people going gluten-free, I really think it's people's bodies have started just rejecting the chemicals that are put into things that have gluten in them, and that's really what they're allergic to. I personally think that's part of our issue, but also, like she said, we do have some family issues that kind of just like run in the family. So thanks so much for watching today, guys. I will link everything below that we talked about, or try to do our best. If you have any questions about our gluten-free journeys, or if you have favorite gluten-free brands or foods or recipes, go ahead and comment them below. We want to hear them. We're always looking to try new things and better things. But yeah, as my mom was saying earlier, a lot of gluten-free diet is just avoiding it completely and not even doing the alternatives. But alternatives are good, and these are the brands that we have tested and said, yes, they are delicious. So thanks for coming on today, Mama.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I love that they're here to visit and everything. And my mom's been allergic to gluten a few years more than me. So she's had to she helped me find brands that were good. So she really was the one who like tried them all first and everything like that. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next video.